Nobody expected a simple shopping trip to turn into a public humiliation, just not for the person they thought. Melania Trump wasn't looking for attention. She wasn't looking for headlines. She just wanted to find a gift, something elegant, something timeless, for a charity auction she was hosting in Palm Beach. That's why she stepped through the gleaming glass doors of Delacroix, one of the most exclusive luxury boutiques in New York City. She had been here before. The chandeliers sparkled overhead, illuminating rows of exquisite jewelry, designer handbags, and rare custom-made pieces. The air smelled of freshly cut peonies and the faintest hint of expensive perfume. The signature scent of a place where the wealthy came to spend obscene amounts of money without blinking. Melania had walked into high-end stores all over the world, but this time she felt something different. It was a shift in the air, a hesitation. She noticed it the moment she stepped inside. The sales associates, usually trained to smile instantly, froze. Conversations between customers quieted. Eyes darted in her direction. Melania knew what this was. She was used to being watched, but this wasn't curiosity. This was something else. She ignored it and walked toward the jewelry cases, where some of the most exquisite diamonds in the world sat behind polished glass. She was scanning the pieces when she heard the click of heels approaching. Madame Trump, a sleek woman in a black-fitted blazer and deep red lipstick, stopped beside her, arms crossed. Her tone wasn't welcoming. It wasn't polite. It was icy, clipped, like she was barely containing her disgust. Melania lifted her gaze, taking in the woman's sharp features, the way her smirk twitched slightly, as if she was enjoying something. Melania recognized her type immediately. She had dealt with women like her for years. The type that felt powerful because they controlled who belonged and who didn't. The type that enjoyed reminding people of their place. The woman didn't introduce herself. She didn't need to. She was clearly the manager, and Melania already knew where this was going. "I'd like to see the Cartier Rivière diamond necklace from your latest collection," Melania said smoothly. The manager's smirk deepened. "I'm afraid," she said, just a touch too loud, "that particular piece isn't available for you." Melania tilted her head slightly, lowering her sunglasses just enough to look her in the eye. "Excuse me?" The woman let out a breathless little laugh, glancing around as if enjoying the attention this exchange was beginning to attract. "I mean," she said, voice dripping with false sympathy, "we're quite selective about who we sell to." She let the words hang in the air, watching Melania's reaction. She wanted to see embarrassment, frustration, anger, anything. Melania gave her nothing. She remained perfectly still, perfectly poised. The manager didn't like that, so she pushed further. "You have to understand," she said, voice growing sharper. "Our clientele expects a certain exclusivity, and as a brand we don't align ourselves with," she made a vague hand gesture, "certain values." Melania blinked slowly. She was being denied service in one of the most prestigious boutiques in the city, and the woman wanted her to feel it. She wanted Melania to know that she wasn't welcome here anymore. A few whispers rippled through the store. Customers pretended to look at jewelry but were clearly watching the confrontation unfold. Some looked uncomfortable, others curious. One young saleswoman behind the counter fidgeted, looking like she wanted to say something, but she didn't dare. Melania recognized this dynamic all too well. She had seen it in Washington, in the media, in social circles that prided themselves on their open-mindedness, until someone with the wrong last name walked in. Still, she let the silence stretch on, watching the manager's face. She could have made a scene. She could have reminded this woman exactly who she was. She could have had her security team make one phone call to the CEO of the brand, who had personally gifted her pieces before. Instead, she did something far worse. She smiled. Not a forced, polite smile, a knowing smile. One that said, "I see you. I see exactly what you're doing, and I'm not the one who will regret this." The manager's confidence wavered for just a second, her fingers tightening around her clipboard. Melania reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and typed a short message. Then she slipped the phone back into her clutch, looked the woman in the eye, and said 6 words that would haunt her. "You will regret this very soon." The manager laughed lightly, but it wasn't as smug this time, and as Melania turned toward the exit, she saw something important. Every sales associate, every customer, every single person in that store was watching. Some looked ashamed. Others looked impressed. The young saleswoman behind the counter looked angry, like she wanted to speak up but didn't know how. Melania didn't blame her. She had seen this all before. The people who hated her didn't do so because they knew her. They hated her because they were told to. And the people who knew better? They were too afraid to speak. She pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped outside. The winter air was crisp, refreshing. She put her sunglasses back on, pulled out her phone, and watched as her message was already being answered. Inside that boutique, the manager had no idea what she had just done. But by the time Melania reached her car, Delacroix was already in trouble. The boutique manager stood behind the counter, scrolling through her phone, her fingers tightening around the device as she read the comments flooding in. What had started as a smug victory now felt like something else entirely. Something spiraling out of control. The store's name was everywhere, trending across social media, but not in the way she had expected. Instead of praise, the boutique was being ripped apart. Customers had started canceling orders. A well-known socialite had walked in earlier that afternoon, a woman who had spent tens of thousands of dollars in the store over the years, and canceled an exclusive handbag order without so much as a second thought. Others followed suit, calling to revoke their VIP memberships, some even demanding refunds. The boutique's email inbox was flooded with messages from angry customers, some loyal, some who had never even shopped there before, but were now making it clear they never would. The manager clenched her jaw and refreshed the page. That's when she saw it, a single post from Melania Trump. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't angry, it wasn't even directly attacking the boutique. It was just one simple sentence. Exclusivity should be about quality, not ideology. There are far better places to shop. Underneath the post was a list of alternative high-end brands, names that carry just as much, if not more, prestige than theirs. The message was subtle, but the damage, immediate. Luxury fashion influencers, the kind whose endorsements could make or break a brand, started chiming in. Some posted, "Guess I know where I won't be shopping," while others outright condemned the boutique's actions. Celebrities, designers, and high-profile figures, even those who had once distanced themselves from the Trump name, were now calling out the store for its blatant discrimination. It was one thing to take a political stance. It was another to be caught on video publicly humiliating a first lady. The boutique's corporate office sent out a mass email to damage control, stating that the situation was a misunderstanding and that the brand prides itself on welcoming all customers. But it was too late. The footage had already spread. The narrative was already set. By the next morning, the boutique manager arrived at work to find the store emptier than she had ever seen it. Normally, by opening time, there would already be a handful of VIP clients browsing with a glass of champagne in hand, trying on rare pieces. Today, there was nothing, just a few employees standing around, murmuring, glancing at their phones with nervous expressions. Then she saw him. The regional director stood near the back of the store, arms crossed, watching her with an unreadable expression. The moment she stepped inside, he gestured for her to follow him. She swallowed hard, her usual confidence faltering as she walked toward him. Inside the office, he shut the door behind her and dropped a folder onto the desk. "Sit," he said. She sat. He opened the folder, revealing printed screenshots of the backlash, headlines, tweets, angry Instagram posts, clips of the video playing on major news networks. It was all there, spread out in black and white. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he said, his voice tight. She forced a small laugh. "It's just some online noise. People will forget about it in a few days." His expression didn't change. "Will they?" he asked. "Because corporate doesn't think so. Neither do our investors." She sat up straighter. "Investors?" He leaned forward. "Do you know how much money we lost in the last 24 hours? How many orders were canceled? How many partnerships are now under review? Our most valuable clients don't want to be associated with us. Even people who don't like Melania Trump are calling this bad business. And do you know why?" She stayed silent. "Because you let your personal feelings get in the way of a sale," he snapped. "Do you know what we sell here? Luxury, prestige. You made this brand look cheap, vindictive, small. She opened her mouth to argue, but he wasn't finished. Let me explain what's about to happen. Corporate is demanding a statement, an apology, not just from the company, but from you. You're going to go on camera, you're going to admit that you treated a customer unfairly, and you're going to promise it won't happen again. Her stomach turned. You can't be serious. His gaze hardened. Oh, I'm dead serious. She clenched her jaw. And if I refuse? He leaned back in his chair. Then security will escort you out, and you will no longer have a job. And let me make one thing very clear. After this, no high-end boutique in this city will touch you. You will be done in this industry. She swallowed hard, feeling the weight of it all pressing down on her. Her hands balled into fists in her lap. She had been so sure of herself when she stood there in that store, mocking Melania Trump, putting her on display for everyone to see. And now she was the one on display. She was the one being humiliated. She had thought Melania had walked away defeated, but Melania had never been defeated. She had just walked away knowing exactly how this would end. And now sitting in that office, staring at the proof of how fast everything had crumbled, the boutique manager realized something. Melania Trump never had to raise her voice. She never had to argue. She simply let the world see what had happened. And that was enough. It always was. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire and challenge us to grow. What would you have done if you were in her shoes? Let us know in the comments below.